The Help by Catherine Stockett. In the novel The Help by Catherine Stockett, 3 characters overcome social norms related to racism through their actions and deeds. In her small Mississippi town, Miss Skeeter is one of very few people that view minorities as equals. Young Skeeter says, "But I used to stare at the toothy smile of that child in the picture, a little jealous, wondering why she didn't have a picture of me up too." During this time period, many white families hired nannies to help raise their children. In the 1960s Mississippi, the help was almost always black. Social norms were that the white children were not to love their black nannies as they once did as children. As a young child, Skeeter would visit her nanny's home and look at the various photos she had on display. As she loved her nanny so dearly, she would stare at the pictures and wonder why there wasn't one of her with her nanny. Social norms of the day mandated that despite playing such a crucial role in the lives of many young white children, the black help was to be treated indifferently and as nothing more than help. Despite this, Skeeter still viewed her nanny in the same loving way as she did when she was younger. Skeeter says to Hilly, "Maybe we ought to build you a bathroom outside, Hilly." Later on, Hilly says, "She put in the newsletter about the toilets. I specifically said old coats are to be dropped off at my house, not." A social norm during 1960s Mississippi was to believe that folks in the colored community were carrying a wide assortment of diseases, and ones that were very different than what a white person might carry. As such, the black help was forced to use the outside black washrooms so that they would not contaminate the white washrooms inside. Hilly, one of the white mothers in the story, decided to create a campaign whereby every white home would have an outdoor bathroom installed that was to be just for the black help. Miss Skeeter was not a fan of this initiative and essentially made a typo in the town's newspaper in order to show that she was against the idea of segregated washrooms. In doing so, Skeeter defied the social norm of the day. Skeeter says, "Well, I took a deep breath. I'd like to write this showing the point of view of the help. The colored women down here, I tried to picture Constantine's face, Abeline's. They raise a white child, and then 20 years later, the child becomes the employer. It's that irony, that we love them and they love us, yet," I swallowed, my voice trembling, "we don't even allow them to use the toilet in the house." In the 1960s, the black community did not have a voice when it came to the way they lived and what went on in their town. Blacks were expected to follow the rules put in by the white administration. Skeeter realized that the treatment of the town's black help was very poor and wanted to bring attention to the issue. By enlisting the storytelling of many of the black help, Skeeter wrote a book in the point of view of the black help to bring awareness to the community and country about the ongoing problems of racism. Similar to those within the black community, Celia Foote is treated as an outsider. She relates to the hardship they face, which influences the way Celia treats others. Miss Celia says, "But why? I don't want to eat in there all by myself when I could eat in here with you." The town of Mississippi was segregated across all facets of life. One such example is whereby blacks and whites were to eat separately at different tables. In most white homes, as the social norms of the day required, the white families would eat as far as possible from where the black help was eating. When Minnie Jackson, who was Miss Celia's maid, sat down to eat her meal, Miss Celia came to sit at the table with her. Minnie then tried to eat at a separate table as she knew what white people would think if they saw her eating at a table with a white woman. As she was switching tables, Miss Celia insisted they eat together as she's an outcast herself and does not want Minnie to feel the same way she does. Miss Celia says, "But you'll teach me to cook, right? Won't you?" In 1960s Mississippi, the black help was hired to cook, clean, and in some cases take care of the young children. The white women would not value their opinion or listen to what they had to say. Miss Celia desperately wanted to fend for herself and learn how to cook and clean. She asked Minnie to teach her to cook and valued the opinion and advice provided to her by Minnie. Minnie says, "Any other woman I've worked for, I would have loved to have had just 1 hour of bossing them around. See how they like it. But Miss Celia, the way she stares at me with those big eyes like I'm the biggest thing since hairspray in the can, I almost rather she'd order me around like she's supposed to." Black help was hired to perform many of the menial jobs around the home. Social norm in the 1960s Mississippi was that this help was to be treated as nothing more than a low-level employee. When it came to the black maids, white women were expected to treat them with indignity and contempt, often ordering them around in order to impress their friends. Miss Celia did not follow this norm of society. She was fair to her black help, and even went as far as to ask Minnie which hours she wanted, what work she wanted to do, what pay she wanted to receive, and allowed Minnie to teach her how to cook and clean. In 1960s Mississippi, such events such as these did not occur often. Celia did not see any reason why her help could not have an opinion in her everyday job, and why she couldn't be afforded the same work conditions as that of a white woman. Evelyn Clark is a black maid that challenges the stereotypes within society, and in the process changes the lives of many for the better. Evelyn says to May Mobley, "He was a real nice Martian, Mr. King. I could get in a lot of trouble telling her these little stories, especially with Mr. Leafold. But May Mobley knows these are secret stories. Why, Abby? Why was they so mean to him?" she asked. "'Cause he was green." Jackson, Mississippi in the 1960s was an unfriendly place to minorities. Available jobs were menial, wages were low, and racism was predominant. During this time, Martin Luther King was viewed as leader of the civil rights movement and represented freedom to blacks. Abilene was determined to educate May Mobley about civil rights and did so through stories, secret stories told by her to May. When May asked Abilene why were the people so mean to the black character in her story, Abilene replied, "'Cause he was green," effectively showing that any color is a color, and that discrimination based on a color was as silly as being racist towards a Martian. May Mobley repeats, "You is kind, you is smart, you is important." Much like racism today, minorities are often viewed as having little to offer society. In the 1960s in Jackson, Mississippi, this view was prevalent. In the face of this, Abilene Clark was a nanny, teacher, and mentor who helped raise 17 white children. Abilene instilled a sense of worth and pride in these children. Even when their white parents would demean them and attack their sense of self-worth, in many ways, Abilene offered much more to the Jackson community than many of the white parents from whom she was a nanny. Abilene says, "You're the smartest one in the class, Abilene," she say, "and the only way you're going to keep sharp is to read and write every day. So I start writing my prayers down instead of saying them." Prevailing norm in the 1960s Mississippi was that black people are dumb. Even in situations where blacks attempted to go on to further education, they were barred from learning institutions. Despite these obstacles, many blacks were able to self-educate, learning to read and write at advanced levels. When she was young, Abilene was encouraged to keep sharp by reading and writing every day. So to do so, Abilene started writing down her prayers instead of saying them, thus improving her writing abilities and breaking the norm. By breaking the social norms of the time, Miss Skeeter, Miss Celia, and Abilene were able to be true to themselves through action and deed.